What's up, guys? Welcome to Blue Presents podcast where I discuss all things music and how it affects my life. And today on my show, my guest is my good friend, Tony Rosario. And Tony is now is a barber, and you can check him out at his shop, Sacred Trade Barber Company. But originally, how I got introduced to Tony was his band, A Promise Never Brokenx. And he's coming from Puerto Rico, kind of talks about his journey from Puerto Rico to Jacksonville, Florida, talking about his time from A Promise Never Brokenx to Convalesce, to Clear Convictions, and then now to his current profession right now as a barber. So sit back, relax, please enjoy this show. Once again, thank you for the support. Thank you for listening, man. I appreciate anybody who takes a moment just to listen to this show or takes a moment to express how they enjoyed the show. I really do. And if you want to be a guest on my show or have a show topic you'd like me to talk about, man, hit me up on the social media, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Presents a Podcast, and on Twitter at Podcast of Blue. And before we get started with today's show, man, listen to my homeboy, AJ Pelletier, tell you why you should be listening to the Roads We Travel podcast.
Hey everyone, AJ Pelletier here, and I'm here to talk to you about my podcast, The Roads We've Traveled. It's a podcast where every week I talk to guests and friends from music, art, comedy, and more about their journeys through life, their struggles, their joys, and everything in between. You also get to know a little bit more about me and my journey as well. So if you like podcasts about good conversations about life, or maybe you're just looking to relate to somebody about some things you may be going through as well, then The Roads We've Traveled is the podcast for you. Subscribe to us today on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you guys get your podcasts from. Check us out and subscribe to us on YouTube. And check us out at facebook.com/Roads We've Traveled podcast. All right, everyone. Thanks.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Blue Presents podcast where I discuss all things music and how it affects my life. And today, my guest and happy birthday is Tony Rosario. What's going on, Tony?
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me, dude.
No, I appreciate it. And happy birthday. We're going to say that one more time. Happy birthday, Tony, man.
I appreciate it.
I was about to say, how old are you now?
I turned 33 this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're like a year behind me, 34. So it's a couple of old
nice.
dudes. A couple of old dudes chilling. All right, Tony. So like every guest that comes on my show, the first question is, what are your top 5 artists, man?
So that's like a tough question every time like somebody puts me on the spot for something like that. I'm going to try to do whatever top 5 were like most influential at a certain point in time.
Okay.
So I guess I can say in no specific order, but Anti-Flag,
mm-hmm.
Under Oath, Combat Kid, As I Lay Dying, and what was the 5th one? Death by Stereo.
Okay, yeah. I forgot all about those guys. Wow, you just brought me back, man. I just had like a nostalgia feeling, just like, yeah, I like those guys. Oh wow, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. So if anybody doesn't know, Tony was in 2 of my favorite bands, X A Promise Never Brokenx and Convalesce. And X A Promise Never Brokenx started out in Puerto Rico. So, Tony, tell us, how did it start for you, man? What made you get into music, and then what made you decide that you were going to be, a Puerto Rican kid who did straight-edge Christian music?
I guess I'm trying to make it as accurate as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this type of music was introduced to me through skateboarding, like in middle school.
Okay.
I kind of started hanging out with a bunch of like skater kids and started skating with them. I think somebody borrowed me like a Punkorama,
mm-hmm.
and it literally like started from there. So I started buying a bunch of compilations and started with punk, hanging out with everybody, listening to that type of stuff. And then, fast forward to high school, I got introduced from like punk into like heavier stuff, like hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the correlation with the 5 bands I mentioned, like Anti-Flag, more on the punk side.
Mm-hmm.
And then on one of those compilations, I listened to Death by Stereo,
mm-hmm.
and that kind of like opened up something new for me, because I didn't liked anything screaming
mm-hmm.
Or heavy at the time, and then they kind of like mixed it perfectly. And then somebody else like introduced the medical aspect,
mm-hmm.
like As I Like Dying. So I went from listening to that type of stuff, befriending dudes that wanted to like play music.
Mm-hmm.
I started with one punk band in high school, and then later on did the whole Promise Never Brokenx once I got out of high school.
Mm.
Yeah, and I mean, it just kind of like escalated from there. I was always like an artsy kid. Didn't really know how to play any instruments.
Yeah.
I guess the only place I could be was behind a microphone. So.
No, man, I totally feel that. So my next question is a question I feel like a lot of people ask me, being a Puerto Rican dude, listens to heavy music. Did you feel like in the beginning when you first started listening to this style of music, did you feel like family or friends kind of question, what's the deal? Why are you listening to this style of music? Because I've often been kind of criticized before when people didn't understand, what it was I was looking for or what it was I was doing. Why are you into this music? I even had a family member go as far as, can I expect that you're going to commit suicide? Not because I was displaying characteristics of someone was suicidal, but because I was just listening. Do you feel like you've gotten any of that kind of flack?
I
know that's a heavy question. Sorry.
No. Yeah. If I did, I don't think I had anybody actually like, say to my face.
Yeah.
Not saying like, like they talk shit from behind, but they might have thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think my dad or my mom did. Definitely not my sister. She got into the same music later on.
Okay.
But like most of my cousins, they listen to reggaeton.
Mm-hmm.
My dad is like an avid, like hardcore, like salsa type of dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all he listens to. His nickname is literally salsa. Like that's what he loves. That's his identity. Like
Nothing
straight
wrong
up,
with that, man.
Puerto Rican dad. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then, my mom obviously grew up listening to salsa. She loves, like, the Latin pop,
Mm-hmm.
ballads, and all that stuff. So here comes this freaking kid, and all of a sudden he doesn't want to have to do with anything of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's literally, like, blasting loud-ass music through his, like, room speakers that's, like, reverberating throughout the house.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure they were like, man, my kid's probably weird, and why is he into that type of music, I remember one time I had a conversation. My mom asked me, like, why do you can't understand what they're saying? Why do you listen to this though? But yeah, I guess I was always known eventually like the one cousin that's like the oddball.
Yeah.
I would practice my vocals in my room, and because I live like in a more rural side, like up in the mountain, somehow like noise just traveled so freaking far that everybody could hear me screaming from like 10 houses down. So they knew that I was like the screamo kid or whatever.
Yeah, when I first heard your vocals, I thought, holy hell, that high. You were just like pterodactyl swooping down and just barraging people. Like it was just, especially because I remember, and I still do this now as a 30-something-year-old, that I'll go on YouTube and look up bands of different styles. Like recently I just did it with female metalcore bands, and that's kind of how I experienced Spiritbox, was kind of how I figured that out. And then I guess you listened to my show and you figured out Spiritbox, and I was just like, yo, like how come nobody hears this band? I love these guys.
I know.
But it's cool. No, and then that's the cool thing about it, man, is we come from a necessarily not a metalcore background, if you really think about it. Like you said, your dad, your mom were into a particular style of music, and obviously they're from Puerto Rico, so they're into what's coming off the island, and I'm sure for that music speaks to you, or speaks to them, but you found this music that spoke to you, and it's kind of cool. Like, didn't seem like there was too much of resistance to it. So my next question for you is, man, so how was it coming up, getting into that kind of music, and then transitioning into what eventually became the Puerto Rico metal scene, man? And I've seen a few things here and there, but I'd really love to get in detail with you, man. How did you figure out that where you were, there was a scene, kind of?
Well, like I said, when I started with punk, that's pretty much all I was listening to. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of my buddies in high school, we would switch CDs, because back then I came in from like, I guess like a somewhat poor background, still middle class, but like I didn't have a computer until like way later. Mm-hmm. I was always late to the game when it came to CD players or like computers or iPods and all that shit. So I had a couple CDs, switched with some of my friends, and somebody gave me one from a local band called Tropiezo, and I'll probably send you a link later on. But
what does that translate to, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
Tropiezo, it's like the stumble, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like to stumble.
Okay.
But yeah, dude, they like mix hardcore and punk, and it's super political.
Okay.
Social issues and stuff like that. And it's like, it blew my mind that it was in Spanish. 'Cause everything I had heard up to then was like in English.
Oh,
and I was like, yo, where this is from? And they were like, oh, this band's from Puerto Rico. And they're playing a show at a local record shop, like later on or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I still regret to this day I wasn't able to like skip class with the guys and go and see them because I heard like the show was awesome.
Yeah.
But that's when then the idea was playing in my head, like, oh, there must be more like this in here. And yeah, eventually like started playing with my friends. We started the first punk band of ours. It was called Estorbo, which means disturbance.
Okay.
And it was straight up like street punk,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of hardcore punk, like the old school style and like Oi or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up playing a show with a bunch of local bands. And that was literally my first time ever going to a show, was literally playing at a show.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit, this is so freaking cool. So, but after that, I was so young.
Mm-hmm.
My dad took me to the show, and then he was like, yeah, I don't like this. We're not coming back. And then that was my last time at a show for like a long time.
Wow.
But then I started listening and learning about new bands or like older bands that had existed.
Mm-hmm.
So the knowledge when it came to like the scene, like I started like getting a bunch of more info when it came to that.
Okay. What was like the first, you would say, band that really stuck out to you, besides the band that you had listed, the To Stumble band? Because I'm not even going to try to sit here and act like I could pronounce that, because I can't.
No, it's fine.
But what was the first band that you felt kind of was like, that's different. That's something I want to try to emulate, or a goal I want to go forward to in the case of sound-wise?
I think for sure, like when I started expanding, I guess, or like being introduced to newer genres or whatever, when I listened to Frailed Words Collapse from As I Lay Dying, that's when I was like, yo, this is like completely different than everything I listened to. Like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I was so like years later from the first band, I started another one with also like skating buddies. I hate the name. I hate that I came up with that name. It's called Anxious to Breathe. One of the stupidest names ever.
But I mean, if you really think about it, it probably was like really super fitting for the time. Because think about the bands that came out around that time. That was that like 2001, 2003-ish area. There was like a lot of bands that were kind of like tongue-in-cheek names that were like super long for no reason at all.
I know, yeah.
But go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
But yeah. So with the second band, we had like such a mix of sounds, and everybody was so different in the band. So I guess eventually we weren't going the same direction. Like me and the drummer Gerald, which we were going more towards that way. We want to do more like As I Lay Dying metalcore style. And then one of the guitarists, great guitarist, he just wanted to go more like Sepultura and like Soulfly and add a lot of like tribal sounds and like another dude wanted to do like Pantera, and I was like, I don't think this is gonna end well. So eventually me and Gerald left, and we're looking for like like-minded people. And I guess another metalcore band broke up. They were called Cursed by the Agony, and that's those are the guys we started a Promise Never Broken with.
All right, and let's talk about that a little bit, man. How did that journey start with those guys? I remember hearing Best Kept Secret. I want to say it was definitely on YouTube, definitely a video. And first of all, I just remember that fucking breakdown. Oh my God, man, that breakdown. As soon as it built up, it was almost like it stopped and then just came in like a haymaker out of nowhere. You weren't expecting it, bro. Like it was it's still to this day. I was talking to a friend of mine's we were just having conversation in general about breakdowns and whatnot. And I was like, you have to hear this breakdown because I don't think you understand how epic a breakdown, how epic breakdowns used to be. You remember like when you went to a show, you would hear maybe like one or two breakdowns, and it was always like either the first song or the last song, usually the last song. And I was telling my friend, I was just like, this was that breakdown I wanted to hear, and it was full on fight, because that had to be the end of the show, because oh my god, it's still to this day one of my most favorite breakdowns. But anyways, let's talk about how that got started, and then I guess next, how did you guys decide you guys wanted to go from Puerto Rico to Florida? I think that's honestly.
Yeah. So our band technically like broke up. Anxious to Breed broke up. And then Cursed by the Agony broke up, that's where we got David and Elston, the guitarist and the drummer. So Gerald, who was drums in the previous band, he went to guitar, and then obviously I was vocal. So we just met up somehow. I forgot how. I think Gerald set it up. We ended up going to David and Elston's house, and we were like, yo, let's just jam and see what comes out. And I think that first day, like, first time, we literally came up with a song, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely going to work. I think the song ended up being called 6 Feet Underground, which fits that time of metalcore and all the, like, the sound and whatever, like the titles.
Yeah.
So we came out with that first song, and we were like, yeah, cool, this is the type of music we're going to do. We'll start getting together from here, and, you know, it just kept snowballing. We kept writing more and more music, and we started playing a lot in Puerto Rico. I think our first show we played, like, legitimately, we had only 2 songs, and it was at a high school. And we were just so excited that somebody was like, yo, do you guys want to play? We weren't even on the bill. And we didn't even have a bassist. Like, literally, it was just like 2 guitars, me, the drummer, and then right before our set, we were talking with Lewis, and literally asked him if he wanted to play bass with us, and he was like, hell yeah, I will. Yeah. So in the middle of our set, he's like in the mosh pit, like yelling out, like, yo, that's my band, dude. I'm the bassist of my band. I'm gonna be the bassist. And I think he had a cat too, so he's like moshing with the freaking cast, just yelling out, yo, that's my band, bro.
A cast.
And we kept playing, and obviously, we kept getting better with, like, the songwriting and all that stuff, and released that EP back home.
Forever You Remain?
Forever You Remain, yeah. I'm sorry if anybody listening, like, if that breakdown from Best Kept Secret, if it destroyed your speakers. Oh, like, I'm really sorry, because that little, like, down-tempo sound, the doo. Yeah. I know a bunch of people are like, yo, you destroyed my speakers because of that stupid thing. But we released that EP, and people took it pretty well. We posted it I was on MySpace. I think we posted it on Pure Volume. And yeah, I mean, not to keep going around with it, but we played so much in Puerto Rico, and we knew we wanted to, like, do this for the long haul. That was the goal at the time. And there were just there's just so many venues you can play back home that it gets, like, outplayed. Yeah, because it's so small. So we were like, if we're gonna do this, we can't just do it from here. Yeah, because being a band in Puerto Rico and thinking that you're just gonna go and tour and be, you're in such a disadvantage, because you're just, like, stuck in an island. Yeah, and then you have to fly the States to then somehow find a way to get a van and equipment and then go touring from there. You're already, like, set behind so much, by so much money. Yeah, because we decided that we were gonna.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Get together and discuss if we did wanted to do this, like,
full time,
like in the for real. So we decided we were going to move to the States, and I guess we said, if we're going to move, we might as well just, like, start from scratch, and that's why we changed the name from A Promise Never Brokenx to Convalesce, and we wanted to change the sound somewhat, because we, at that point, we kind of, like, matured enough to, like, go with something a little bit more intricate than just the regular. And so David started writing a lot of stuff, and I think the first single that we did that took us to where we were going was crap, I can't even remember it right now. I know it's in the EP. But
I was going to say, is it Guidance?
With Guidance.
With Guidance, yes.
Yeah.
I remember.
So yeah, it was called With Guidance. We took the With out later on.
Yeah. I remember hearing the demo version of that. And so okay. So for some reason, I'm trying to remember this. I don't know who exactly I was talking to, but I remember hitting you guys up on MySpace and just telling you guys I was like a huge fan of what you guys did. And then somewhere in that conversation, you guys were like, "Hey, that's crazy because we're actually moving to Jacksonville." And I was just like, "Wow, that's crazy." So what was it about Jacksonville that you guys were like, "Yo, that's where we want to be"?
It's funny that you bring that up because I remember I was in college at the time, like at an art school for like graphic designing, and I think it was me and Gerald. We were going kind of like back and forth with you through MySpace. I remember that very clearly because when we met at a Starbucks and we were like, "Yo, where we're gonna go? You know, we're gonna do this." Everybody said yes. It was kind of like an ultimatum, like, "Hey, this is gonna happen. If some of you guys don't want to go, you know, I'm moving because I do want to do this, whatever." And long story short, everybody agreed. We started looking throughout Florida because the climate is somewhat similar to Puerto Rico year round.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to move to the north and then, you know,
regret
get
it.
a blizzard and then be like, screw this, I'm going to go back home. So we said Florida was like the best route. I knew I had family close to Tampa. Then we found out that Lewis had family here in Jacksonville, as well as Gerald. I think he had an uncle or aunt here in Jacksonville as well. So like, okay, at least we have somewhat of a connection in Florida. We can choose whichever scene, I guess, city seems safer when it comes to like at least moving there first. And two of the guys had people here. Somehow I kept looking, and I guess I was in charge of the research. So I looked at all the scenes and what big bands stopped at what cities the most. So Jacksonville, for what I could tell back then, had like a legit scene because so many tour packages were stopping at the Imperial and Fuel Coffee House, Murray Hill Theater, and, you know, other venues, I guess, that were here at the time. So I was like, shit, man, like Jacksonville seems like that's what's up, so we need to go there. And I started looking for like local bands to kind of like befriend from a distance, to kind of like, you know, just like stay in contact with, and Wings of Victory, not to just be, you know, but out of all the bands that were playing here at the time, like I was listening to you guys' stuff, and I was like, this band is so good, dude. Like, so I was like, we have to be friends with him. So that's why I started reaching out to you, and we started talking, and then I guess you explained a little bit how the scene was going, and we became MySpace pals. And I think Gerald moved here first. And
I started.
I guess you got.
Yeah, me and Gerald
you hung out with him.
Yeah. Me and Gerald hung out when I was with my ex at the time, and Gerald would come over, and just kind of like his English wasn't as good. And a lot of times he would want to tell us like a lot of things. You know, Gerald's a talkative guy. He's definitely one of those guys that's a life of the party kind of dude. And I took, you know, I kind of like, as soon as I knew he was here, I kind of made it my own personal mission to go there and reach out to him and let him know, you know, because I know, like, you know, he was telling me beforehand when we did talk that he was a bit nervous being here, being the first one here. So we kind of just came together, and I kind of brought him around my friends because I wanted him to feel like, yo, we're loving and accepting, and we really appreciate even wanting to be here either. You know what I'm saying? But I also, at that time, my mindset was because, you know, like, and a lot of people don't really know, and I'm probably going to say this for the first time on my podcast. So I got into music here when I was growing up in Massachusetts, but it wasn't until I got into Florida that I really got to push myself. I really got to show what I could do as a vocalist, you know. Jacksonville kind of like, and that I say this all the time, but Jacksonville will always forever be my hometown because I always felt like that's where I belong the most. You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, you guys coming over, I wanted you guys to feel as much love as I felt when I first came here, or when I first came to Jacksonville, you know what I'm saying? So hooking up with Gerald and making sure he was good and telling him, man, if he needed me, come get at me. I'm pretty sure I'm probably wrong off this. Did we have a hand in helping you guys get on your first show in Jackson? I'm not sure. Like, maybe talking to you?
I think, no, obviously you did, because we were still, the four of us were still in Puerto Rico trying to line everything up for, you know, just to get ready to move. Gerald was over here. I think he was working, he had a job already, and I think he was able to like scrap some money together to buy one of those conversion vans.
Yeah.
That was going to be no, he had a car. Sorry. He had a car, and he was going to sell it to buy the van, which happened as soon as we got here. But, dude, I'm so bad with names, so I'm sorry if
No, it's
if I
fine.
forget
I'm the
any,
same way, man.
people names or band names or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
I think you guys definitely played that show.
Yeah.
It was at the Pit.
Yes.
And so the new guitarist, again, I don't know his name, but the new guitarist for Young Ghost, he was the guitarist in the band. Oh, Twisted Affliction.
Oh yeah, man!
Twisted Affliction.
You're bringing up
Sorry.
some memories, brother.
Yeah, so that was legitimately the first show we played. I think Twisted Affliction headlined. I think you guys were right before them, and we obviously like opened up the show, I think.
Yeah.
And again, like going back to what you were saying, like we definitely felt the welcoming, affection, on your behalf, and then everybody that we met, like right away, they were like, "Yo, these guys from Puerto Rico, they just moved here, blah 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 blah," and everybody was so nice. So that we felt welcome pretty quick, and yeah, that show was like awesome. We didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was awesome. So.
It was great to see you guys live, and especially because I had known a lot of your stuff, and you guys, that first show, you guys played quite a bit of it, and as well as you guys previewed a couple of new songs and stuff like that before the change. So let's talk about the change from A Promise Never Broken to Convalesce. What went into the thought process of that? Why did you guys feel like you guys needed to change your sound or change the name?
I think sound-wise, again, going to like everything that we were into, like this was another band where also kind of like everybody was into different things, but we were able to either compromise or just know how to blend in our taste to make the final product. So at the time, we started the band, 2006? Yeah, 2006. So, and we left, we moved to Jacksonville February 2009. So in that time, like obviously like more and more bands were coming out, I think by then As I Die had like put out a couple albums. August Burns Red put out a couple albums. I think Messengers was one of like a big influence into like the transition. Yeah. And, we were like, oh shit, okay, we can like play faster. Not everything has to be like whatever, super breakdown, and then I need a bigger breakdown. It was more like, let's do more stuff with guitars, let's make faster drums, and then whatever lows and highs that I were doing, I was going to keep doing that, but I guess make it, just mix it up a bit. So we just wanted to keep progressing with, I guess, whatever we were being influenced by. Yeah. And the name, I guess eventually we also kind of got tired of, by the name. Yeah. The name came with the whole like straight edge thing, and it's not that we didn't want to associate with straight edge again on the newer version of the band. We just wanted to just like, let's just make it a band. There wasn't any like pre-motive or like motives for it. Just let's get a name that we can all agree on, and Convalesce just seemed like one. I don't know. A lot of bands also were doing like one word band names. Yeah. So we're like, we gotta get a one word band name because that's cool. And so we changed. We just decided to sound mature compared to the previous stuff we had done.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, the first single / music video you guys released for that, if I'm not mistaken, Decisions EP, right? Was Shelter, right?
Yeah.
I think that was the first single you guys released on that one. So I have a weird question because I've always wanted to know, because I there's a distinct sound when you are listening to a Convalesce song. What do you guys call that trippy ass sound right as the breakdown hits? What is that?
Yeah, it's not a glitch. It sounds like it's a glitch happening in the background. Yeah. It's something that David was like playing and messing around with during like the what's it called, like pre-production for the EP, and we were all like, yo, that sounds really tight. Because it's not like a tribal sound or anything, but it adds to the rhythm. You know what I mean? It's also like a percussive type of sound, but it's just like straight up like.
Yeah, it's almost like a trippy, almost inserted techno, like kind of snarish kind of sound. If you really think about it.
Yeah. It's like if we had like a six member just messing with the keyboard and doing like weird shit with that, but not. It was just like meant to stay on the click track or whatever.
So, question: did you guys ever?
But yeah, he started messing with that, and it just like fit. You know what I mean? So it was gonna be part of just one song.
Yeah.
But then it kind of like became part of like our sound in general, you know, because you go from like the first EP to the second EP and it's still there.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, I think it just like added an extra like oomph to the song. So so it was like a thing that David just came up with.
Yeah. On
Fruity Loop or something like that.
Did you guys ever come up with a name for it or anything like that? Did you guys have a joke about it or anything like that?
Literally, I think we only refer to it as the kind of a sound. That's literally. I mean, that's literally what it sounds like. Yeah,
that's definitely what it sounded like. So let me ask you a question: who produced or who helped direct that first music video?
So the actual music video, I think there was a dude that was like working with or starting to work with like a bunch of like Rise Records bands. I think his name is Sam Link. I don't really remember right now, but I think that's him. Yeah.
The name does sound familiar. That's why I'm saying,
Yeah. Eventually, we weren't like fully happy with the video because I think there was supposed to be like way more in it. Mm-hmm. Like we were supposed to. I think we filmed the story part of the video, and it was never put on the video. It was kind of like really like, I got footage and blah 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 blah. I'm just gonna put it there and here's your product. But yeah, it was definitely Sam Link. We drove down, I think, to Orlando area and filmed it. So, no, not even in Orlando area. We did one part in Orlando. We even had a photo shoot in Orlando with him, I think. And then we went in the middle of nowhere, somewhere down in Central Florida. Mm. That's like the I think it was like a farm or something like that.
Yeah.
That's where we like filmed. Anything that looks like it's in the woods, that's where it was filmed.
Yeah, no, man. Still amazing video to me, and even knowing that there wasn't no story in it. I still thought it was a kick-ass video. I thought when I first saw it, because I mean, even at the time, I think Wings was still trying to figure out what was our next move, because we were doing quite a bit ourselves too. And I remember there was getting to a point where I felt like, and this was just me, I don't know how anybody felt about it, just the work that we had put in. I felt like sooner or later it was going to be that time for somebody to say, hey, look at these guys, because we did have interest from a few people who expressed it, but I think maybe they felt like they wanted to see more of what we were going to do per se. And I know that we were churning out shows one right after another, and stuff like that. And it was kind of like watching you guys do it. And I'm just like, damn, why are we not doing? These guys are already here, already cranking this out, man. And I thought that was awesome. So transitioning from you doing this awesome record that came out. So I guess the next question would be, what was your decision, or what led to the decision of you actually departing Convalesce?
So we moved here to, the end goal was like, we're going to do everything possible to, become a touring band, because everybody wanted to be just like all the bands that we did.
Yeah.
So we moved here and we lived first like in this is only relevant because I'm just remembering that specific incident, but we were all living together in a studio.
I remember that studio apartment
down on Century 21.
Yes,
because
I used to drop Gerald off. Yeah. When he would come hang out with me and my ex. Yeah. He would come hang out with us maybe like for a couple days and go back. And I remember helping him bring his stuff in. And I'm like, God, you guys all live in this damn apartment.
Dude, we woke up one Saturday morning. I woke up the guys because there was like the SWAT team doing a drug bust.
Oh,
and we were just
God.
like all watching from the windows. It was insane. But sorry. We lived in that studio, and I remember we got contacted through MySpace by, I think it was a band that was going to do a tour from like California to Florida and then back, because they were from Texas, and they reached out to us. That's when we had with Guidance out on MySpace, and I think Enemies as well by then. So they were like, yo, we want to do a tour. We would love to have you guys with us. Let's try to set that up. And I try to convince the guys, hey, this is an opportunity. that may not happen again, and it hasn't happened until now. Excuse me. Let's try to do this, because we had just gotten the conversion van, and looking back, we definitely weren't in any position to go on a tour, but it was like the first opportunity. Yeah. And in my experience, it was the only opportunity presented to us to be able to like start the dream, whatever.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the guys were either had just, like Lewis, I remember the first 8 months that we moved here, he hadn't found a job because his English as well wasn't as good at the beginning. So I think that was holding him back. And like, he was very stressed because he was going through his savings, and so-and-so hadn't found a job either. I was at a job. Daryl was at a job. I think Elston found a job. So a lot of the guys ended up being like, no, let's not do that.
Yeah.
That band, a few months later, ended up getting picked by Media Scare.
Okay.
So that frustrated me. I was like, shit, dude, this was an opportunity we could have taken. Who knows if whoever saw them
could have saw you guys
as well and been like, man,
damn,
2 for 1, and we could have had something come out of that. Then we played more shows. We tried to expand in Georgia, Florida. I think David started befriending people through social media that were like kind of related to some other labels. And I think part of the band was trying to go more the route of let's just get to know the right people so we can get the hookup.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I guess I was more on we just need to drop everything and like be broke forever and like eat ramen noodles and like, like stay hungry and just like fucking let's just like tour. And, it was definitely a scary thing for everybody else to do that. So I completely understand.
Yeah.
So that kind of like started frustrating me. And I don't know. I think eventually, I was also going on this whole, going through my own spiritual, like, I guess, Christian thing. So I was starting to like step back. Even though the band was Christian, I guess I was like veering off more towards like spending more time at church and doing this and doing that. So I was like, yeah, if the band is not going to tour, if it's just going to stay as a local band, then I might as well not do this. So I'm going to, I guess, focus on my own faith. And then, I had no plan at that point. So that's when I was like, yeah, I think I'm just going to step out. I told the guys, and it was definitely a shitty time because I was so attached to being a front man and being with the guys. And even after quitting the band, like I still live with them. So that's when
that's crazy.
Things got heavy quick because they were going to continue doing the band, and they were still recording. That's when they came out with Consequences. Such a good album, EP.
Yes.
And it sucks that I wasn't on it, but like David did such a great job also with the vocals there. So I had like my own little depression moment era at post Convalesce, and so that was the reason why like I quit.
Yeah, man, that's a tough thing to deal with. I remember I think we were in the back of Jackrabbits when it kind of the conversation happened where it was just like, I think Wings is done, because at the time I had just found out that my ex was pregnant with my son. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Kyle and AJ were on their way to college. Our bass player situation was just crappy. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Dylan had gotten an opportunity to be a drummer for a touring band in Connecticut. And he kind of jumped all over that situation, which worked out for him quite well. Cause then, he got an opportunity to play with, Thick as Blood in China and stuff like that. He got to do some pretty crazy, awesome stuff. I hope to have him on my show fairly soon. I know he was in the podcasting space there for a little bit with the Horror Junkies podcast, which kind of a lot of people don't know, but
it was Dylan Ponce, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, he did a horror podcast with a couple of dudes from Orlando. If anybody doesn't know, Dylan Ponce is probably the most entertaining, energetic personality you'll ever meet in your life. And like I said, I hope to have him on my show soon. I know he is getting ready to start a new podcast, and
that's awesome.
Because I was huge into Horror Junkies, and a lot of people don't know. That kind of inspired me to do my own podcast because I heard how good Dylan was, and Dylan's personality translates so well to a podcast. It's just, if you're looking for something entertaining, they still have episodes up on Spotify and Apple and whatnot. Go listen to the Horror Junkies podcast. You
War
will,
junkie.
you will piss your pants laughing how funny Dylan is. He's always been funny and a big personality.
For sure, yeah.
So I guess my next question, we've came to the conclusion you were done with Convalesce. You decided you were going to focus more on your religion. If I'm not mistaken, between that time, you actually joined another band. Was it Clear Convictions, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
Okay. So talk a little bit about that. How did you end up in that band? And if I'm not mistaken, those guys are from the Orlando area, right?
Yeah, also originally from Puerto Rico. Yeah, I
didn't know that.
At one point, yeah, they were like pretty heavy, like pretty up there when it comes to in Puerto Rico hardcore. Everybody knows Clear Convictions. They were signed for like a period of time on Strike First, which is it was the smaller label from Face Down, and Clear Conviction was also They toured the East Coast, I think, with like Seven Star and a bunch of those Strike First bands or Face Down, and like they were on their way that they could have like kept growing. But yeah, so they were also like a straight up like evangelistic kind of like Christian band from Puerto Rico, and then Danny wanted to continue the vision. I forgot all the details on why, unfortunately the band wasn't able to continue the momentum they had. It's like I think No Innocent Victim played Puerto Rico, and that's when Clear Convictions played, and then the drummer was like, yo, you guys are so sick. Like, I really want to put you guys on my smaller label. And then, they got on the tour over here. Then when they flew back home, kind of like everything, I think, dismantled. And then Danny was left kind of like, oh, crap. Yeah. So years later, he ends up moving to Orlando and gathers a bunch of, other Puerto Rican musicians from other bands from back home. And he was carrying, I think he recorded a couple albums with those guys. So at this point, fast forward, I'm married. I'm with my wife, and we're like doing mission work in Costa Rica. And me and him were like heavily like talking to each other on Facebook and going back and forth on Messenger and this and that. And somehow we were, he had always loved my vocals. Like he was very outspoken when it comes to that. And I always loved how heavy the Convictions was. So I guess at that point in time, we were so focused and kind of like had the same mission and mentality and all this and that, that I think I joked that I wanted to do like a side project with him. And whenever that was possible, and we were like, yeah, we'll make it happen. And then next thing you know, I moved back to the States, and I was able to like start hanging out in Orlando with him. And next thing you know, I'm in the band. And it was cool, dude. Like they had just released an EP, and I hadn't recorded anything with them, so I guess people were starting to ask, since we had mentioned that there was a new vocalist, like, oh, what does the guy sound like? Because all I can think of is just Danny screaming. So that's when we recorded the one single counter culture. And
I believe you guys
did a video for it and posted it on YouTube or whatever. So which I gotta say, when it comes to vocal stuff and just recording, I think out of all the tracks I've ever done, that's like the most proud I am of anything, just because like before I could never sing, you know what I mean? Like because of all the screaming, I guess my vocals weren't used to it. And I used to do so many highs that it would totally mess up my throat for singing. So, and this one, like at this point, I'm pretty sure I can't even do highs anymore. Because I haven't tried in years, but we did that track and it just came out perfect to me. So yeah, we played a few shows in Orlando, and we were just gonna keep it going, and but then the guys, I think they were starting to talk on, you know what we should do? We should start getting ready so we can like get create a press kit and do this and do that, so we can like get ready to tour and hopefully get signed. And I'm married. I'm all set here in Jacksonville. The band is from Orlando. They're talking about touring. Yeah. And that's when I'm like, I think that season of my life kind of like
passed,
ended, so I think I'm a peace out. That's when I think I lasted like up to 2 years with them. Yeah. Great shows. I loved hanging out with those guys. I never thought I would be able to connect with any other band members like I did with Convalesce. Yeah. But to a degree, it felt awesome being in clear convictions because, you know, with Danny, with Jesus, with Timmy, and Carlos, like, it was just, like, perfect, you know.
Isn't that interesting how you went from, like, do or die, we need to do this opportunity now, to, you know, a few years later, you get some perspective, you're married, everything kind of changes, you're grounded in Jacksonville, and you realize, this isn't it right now. You know what I'm saying? That's it's kind of interesting, the flow of life. You went from that, you know, guns blazing, let's do this, or, you know, not, and then to, my life is kind of set right now. And that's amazing. Now you went from that, and then you've had a few kids, man. Congratulations. Recently I saw you just had another one, man, and that's a blessing, brother, for real, man. I was so happy to see that, man, because your family and your wife is such a sweet woman. I've met her a few times at Murray Hill. It's just an absolute pure blessing to see you guys, you know, growing in numbers, man. We need more people like you guys, for real, you know. So I
appreciate that, man.
It's a blessing, brother. So, you know, from the music, man, let's talk about how you get into cutting hair, man, because now you are a business owner, man, and anybody who lives in Jacksonville who listens to this podcast, or in the Florida area, and you want a good haircut, you can check my man out at Sacred Trade Barber Company, 928 Edgewood Ave South in Jacksonville, Florida. So tell me, how did you, you're done with music. How do you figure out haircutting's the next move?
I think during and even after leaving Clear, I had been working in, like, the food industry and retail, and I was really looking for a way to, you know, start making, like, more income and something stable enough that I could, A, be super proud of doing, like, finding a trade, and B, you know, being able to, like, provide for a future family, because it was in the talks. So going from working at a restaurant and then eventually managing a restaurant, a local, like, breakfast spot, I was needing something that I could, like, feel, I guess, free and whatever. So I had I don't know if you know Pepe. He used to do vocals for Refuge.
Okay, yeah, the name sounds familiar. I'm trying to place it in my head, but I know the band.
So he's been a barber for, like, so long now, and he was my barber, you know. So, like, I would go to him, like, pretty regularly for haircuts and stuff like that, and he did. You know, I started, like, asking him questions, like, dude, do you like what you do?
Yeah.
How did you get into it? And this and that. Do you think it would be a good idea, possibility for me to do? And he was very encouraging. He's like, yeah, man, you should do it, because, like, I have 3 kids, you know, like, I could take care of everybody. And, you know, it's a great thing to have. You know, you're never going to be without work, because everybody needs a haircut.
No,
so
for real.
It started, like, planting a seed. And then, you know, I started kind of, like, befriending other barbers and asking them the same question. And kind of, like, it just kept growing and growing. And I was like, yeah, I think this would be something that I would enjoy to do, you know. And I'm not a hard labor type of dude. Like, I'm not going to go and do construction.
Yeah.
You know, God bless my dad. He's a welder. He's been a welder since high school.
Yeah.
You know, that has been his trade. He's the best welder there ever is, there ever was.
Yeah,
but
man.
that's not for me. That's not something that I could do. So I needed something that I could still do with my hands, but, you know, not hard labor. And I just went for it, you know. Like, I went from managing a restaurant. I told my boss, like, hey, I'm going to go to barber school. So if I can be demoted so I can have, like, more time to go to school and not have to worry about taking care of other people over here, I would appreciate that. So, yeah, that's when I went from that to barber school. And that's when we found out we were pregnant. So it kind of like all worked at the same time. We were hoping to get pregnant after me officially being a barber, but everything happened at once. So I was like, oh shit, so this is supposed to happen now, so we're going to make it happen.
You know, my grandmother used to have a saying about that. When you're least ready for it, that's exactly when it happens.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the best blessing that, you know, that we've had, but definitely it was a slight change of plans that ended up working out anyways, because it was just meant to happen.
No, man, and that's awesome. And now you're a business owner, which I'm sure has to be a freeing, you know, feeling that not only are you doing what you want to do, but you're doing it on your own terms. So that's That's an amazing thing, and if anybody hasn't tell you, man, I'm proud of you, brother, for real, man. You've shown so much growth as a person, and it's good to see someone like you not only exceed at life, but exceed in a profession, man, and it seems like everything's going pretty well for you. But so before we end this, man, unfortunately we got to touch on a little bit of a sad note, man, and you know, when I heard the news, it kind of shook me, man. I'm not even going to lie. I think this is possibly the second passing of a good friend that is really kind of put into perspective, you know, how really short life is, man. And let's just talk about like Elliston as a person, man, because I just always remember him being such a life of the party type of deal. The first dude to crack a joke, the first dude to do something outlandish and loud and be laughing in the corner, you know. I just remember a great presence about him and just always having a good time and never really seeing him, you know, be the type of person to be like down on anything. He was always with a smile, you know, and a good hug, man, for real. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, Elton, you know, he was like a little brother. Like him and David, I just grew to love I love everybody from Convalesce, but I definitely grew to love both of them kind of like if they were siblings of mine, because I have a younger sister, but to me they were like brothers, especially Elton. Elton was like, he was like my little brother, and we like to refer to him as like a beautiful mess. Like the dude was a mess. He was a hot freaking mess. Like if there was anybody that would constantly lose his wallet, lose his keys,
oh god,
leave his keys inside the car and lock himself out, like at all times, I would definitely be him. He was the worst driver ever. So I would never let him drive the van when we were going to shows, especially out of town. I'm pretty sure we almost died a couple times with him, but yeah, dude, he was just such a lively dude. He was so happy. His smile would like light up a room. Yeah, man. You know, like you said, the hugs, like he would give like the best hugs and stuff like that. And
for real.
His laugh, dude, whenever you got him going, it was like the best sound. Yeah.
I remember him if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember this story. I don't remember who exactly it was. I do want to say it was our guitar player, AJ. If I'm not mistaken, I think him and Gerald had a similar guitar. And I think Gerald was just stringing his guitar and hadn't like got it all the way set up and whatnot. And for some reason, I guess Elliston thought it'd be hilarious to switch guitars. And AJ came back to just guitar strings hanging off his guitar. And Elliston was dying so hard. This was at the pit. And if I'm correct, I think it was either AJ or it was AJ or Kyle. And I just remember AJ or Kyle just being so pissed off, and Elliston just dying laughing. And then them kind of settling the confusion on what exactly had happened. Just, oh man, he's definitely a force, man. And I saw what him and his brother were doing with the with the production company, man, putting together awesome music video. Yeah, with stuff for Young Ghost. And some of what David was doing with his own music, which if anybody hasn't checked out, you should check out David's music as well too. He does some really good, I would say, house party techno EDM kind of style music that's very catchy, very very much in that vein. But yeah, man, it just it hit kind of hard, man, and it just like a family member you lose, you just remember, and I hadn't talked to him in a long time, but you still whenever you see someone like that you haven't seen in a long time, it was just like you never had not seen each other. You know, with so much love, so much embrace. From him, it was good. And if I'm not mistaken, I did see him before I left Jacksonville in 2017 at a Young Ghost show. And it was good to see him, man. He looked happy. He saw me, and he's like, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" And just sad, man. Real sad. Yeah. He definitely was. Out of all of us in the band, he was definitely the one that went the hardest when it came to going in the pit. Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, man. I hate to end on such a sad note, but we had to talk about it. And much love to him. No, for sure, dude. Much love to him. Much love to David. Much love to all those guys. And I don't know if the GoFundMe's still going. If it is still going, try to find it on my page and add some money to that and just help his family through this really, really dark time. But Anyways, Tony, I'm sorry to end on such a terrible note. It's your birthday,
dude.
man.
It's totally fine.
It's your birthday, man, and I appreciate you being a guest on my show. And once again, guys, if you are in the Florida, Jacksonville, North Florida area, and you're looking for a really good haircut, man, check out Sacred Shade Barber Company, 928 Edgewood Avenue South in Jacksonville, Florida, and you can reach them at 904-574-8958. I appreciate you coming on, Tony.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
All right, appreciate it.